he is suffering from being a psychopath and probably from depression as well. But I think we should, and I'm glad that more research is being done into how do we help people how do we help people with this condition, because as I alluded to, like, this, it's not like this is.
Yeah, so Swayze, you're not a psychologist, you're not a psychiatrist, you have no ability to diagnose anyone. Like, she's literally calling me a psychopath because I was rude to somebody. Like, holy crap. I guess everybody at the DMV is a psychopath, right? Because they're all rude. Like, holy crap.
Is good for Richard. I do not believe he's a happy person at all. I think that
now that I'm on my antidepressants, I'm fucking happy. So thanks. Somehow she can know everything about me, my life, how I feel constantly, my mental state, because she saw one stream where I made an insensitive joke. Yeah, Swayze, I'm on antidepressants. They've been working great. I make a great living on YouTube. I'm making over 10K a month now. Like, what is there for me to be, like, mad about? Why would I be constantly angry? The only thing that upsets me is when I see people like you spewing absolute nonsense. That's the only time when I'm upset.
So this is what it looks like, and this is why I'm not terribly competent doing basically anything with any reliability. Stand still. If I try very hard to stand still.
À-bas-le-ciel.
Before I went on antidepressants, I was completely, wholeheartedly against them. But then I learned that they're actually wonderful and saved my life.
I mean, it's ironic when you think about it, isn't it, that a drug that's marketed as an antidepressant has a side effect of suicide.
To take the irony further now, the FDA's new label warnings and the Canadian read like my books from 10 years ago, that these drugs produce anxiety, insomnia, overstimulation, impulsivity, aggressivity, hostility, and a general worsening of their condition.
I have a blankie. Blankie is a blanket I have had since I was literally born out of the womb. My Aunt Melody got it for me when I was a baby. It originally had Mickey Mouse and Minnie, and it's my security blanket. Like, I sleep with it every single night. I like need it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Sammy Marie here, and I do videos all about mental health. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my medications and the side effects of my medications. Now, I'm on Lamictal, Haldol, Topamax, and Minipress. And Lamictal is a mood stabilizer. Topamax is a mood stabilizer, Haldol is an antipsychotic, and Minipress is for PTSD. The side effects, let's just jump on into that. And for me, the side effects for Lamictal is hair loss. It makes me kind of groggy and like numb and tired. And I don't like it, but and it's funny because my doctor had me on 200 milligrams like a couple months ago, and I stopped taking it, which you should never stop taking your medications, like just stopping cold turkey, but I did. And then I recently just talked to him like a few days ago, and he was like, okay, well, we need to get you back on it. So now I'm back on it.
15 years ago, I warned the FDA and I warned the country in toxic psychiatry that antidepressants were causing a stimulant amphetamine-like syndrome that was resulting in violence and murder. In 1994, and talking back to Prozac, I warned the country and the FDA again, this time with tons now of scientific data on the same issues. During that period of time, I was asked to be, and this is very relevant to your deliberations, the scientific investigator for all of the combined Prozac suits, almost 200 of them. So I got to look at all the sealed data that Eli Lilly didn't want anybody else to see. So about 20 books later now, and a few dozen scientific studies, and innumerable product liability suits where I've looked at sealed data, I've come to tell you that you're evaluating junk. You're evaluating carefully edited, expurgated data that I've seen and you haven't. This is a most remarkable circumstance.
The first few weeks I was on antidepressants, I spent every car ride just like laughing by myself because I was like, oh my God, I spent my whole life not knowing what this feels like.
And what we find is that it's that initial few weeks when the drug has the most impact.
But once I went on antidepressants and it worked instantaneously, I felt happiness for the first time and I was so joyous and I was like, wow, I really needed this. I do actually have an imbalance in my brain.
We don't have any evidence that any routine psychiatric problem, from anxiety to depression and even schizophrenia, has anything to do with a biochemical imbalance.
Stabilize your chemical imbalance.
So where did an idea like that come from? We know the answer. It was actually made up by the brilliant minds at the drug company Eli Lilly. Even before Prozac was approved for depression by the FDA, Lilly was sending its minions, its paid physicians and consultants, out into the world to say that depression was caused by a biochemical imbalance, and in particular a kind of sluggish serotonin neurotransmitter, just not enough serotonin working. But Lilly knew from the beginning that it wasn't very simple, that this drug Prozac wasn't exactly going to jack up your serotonin like it was supposed to. The whole idea behind Prozac was that it would block the removal of serotonin from those active places in your brain called the synapses. And here's the other cell, and it's picking up serotonin. And then comes Prozac, and it blocks the removal of the serotonin from this space. And that's supposed to mean you're going to puddle serotonin. You're going to increase serotonin in the synapse. Well, in fact, and Lilly knew this before the drug was approved, the brain doesn't like to have the serotonin puddling in its synapses, and the brain responds by stopping producing serotonin. It responds by increasing its ability to remove serotonin. It responds by becoming less sensitive to serotonin. So from the beginning, it was a flim-flam. It was a PR claim that you got biochemical imbalances and Prozac's gonna fix it. So, what do you conclude from this? People who have emotional problems, you, me, we all have emotional problems. We don't have anything wrong in our brains. And if we do, if someday some of these problems turn out to be caused by something going on in our brains rather than in our lives, in our emotions, in our hearts, in our feelings, if it turns out to be so, then psychiatric drugs aren't fixing them, because psychiatric drugs are causing biochemical imbalances in your brain.
I'm on antidepressants. They've been working great. I make a great living on YouTube. I'm making over 10K a month now. Like, what is there for me to be, like, mad about?
Yes, I am on antidepressants. I have been for about a month and a half, and my life has absolutely changed, like, more than I ever expected.
When you're on them, you don't appreciate their harmful effects. Anxiety, insomnia, overstimulation, impulsivity, aggressivity, hostility, and a general worsening of their condition. If you do begin to become upset or disturbed on a drug, let's say you're taking Xanax or you're taking an antidepressant, you start to get irritable and angry and you yell at your family, you're not likely to think it's the drug. You're likely to think it's my wife, or my husband, or the kids, or the boss, or the job. You won't get straight that you've been changed by the drug.
When I went on antidepressants for the first time, I felt for the first time what stability felt like. Antidepressants, some actually do help with anxiety. So that has been the most amazing improvement for me. I barely have any anxiety anymore.
You might think you're feeling better than ever when you're doing worse than ever. And this is common. This is really common. It's related somewhat to the feeling of euphoria.
I'm so happy.
Euphoria, which is one gets from cocaine or amphetamine and can often also get from the antidepressants. And that sense of feeling better than ever is, as I mentioned in one of my earlier reports, one of the most dangerous places you can get.
Now that I'm on my antidepressants, I'm fucking happy.
The psychoactive substances, by diminishing our capacity, by impairing our frontal lobes, prevent us from appreciating their harmful effects.
I was on a lot of antipsychotic medications until I tried one particular psychiatric medication that soon after I started taking it, I felt the best I did since I was a little boy. When my psychiatrist warned me that I would develop physical symptoms in several years in the future, I wasn't really concerned about it because I was doing so well. I didn't want to have the risk of giving that up. Several years later, I woke up one morning and I noticed that my cheeks were puffing in and out uncontrollably. And I was horrified when I saw my image in the mirror.
I feel so calm. I had no idea I could feel like this.
Psychoactive substances impair our judgment about their effects on us.
This video needs to be made, especially if we want to reach the goal of releasing that social stigma about mental health and making it more normalized.
Normalizing depression is not the same thing as normalizing the treatment of depression. This word normalize is so slippery, it's so misleading. Are you really trying to normalize the experience of human sorrow, anxiety, misery, suffering, which is indeed, as you say, normal, is indeed part of the human condition? Or are you trying to normalize a drug-induced euphoria? And then contrasting that to human suffering, unhappiness, and sorrow, with the claim that any experience of that kind can be medicalized, can be treated as abnormal, can be treated as an illness that has never been proven to exist by medical science on the basis of a chemical imbalance that is known now to be fictitious, that always was fictitious, by mustering together already debunked and disproven junk science from the 1990s. What is it really that you are trying to normalize?
I travel by public transportation, and I have kids turn around and stare at me because they're curious or they don't understand why this man's making faces. So I don't get upset about that, but it does upset me. When people see me grimacing, they come to the conclusion that there's something wrong with me.
I'm so happy. I feel so calm. I had no idea I could feel like this.
Normalizing human misery, suffering, and sorrow is the opposite of medicalizing it, treating it as a diagnosable condition that can be remedied with a pill that has been in the last 20 years more thoroughly debunked than anything else on the psychiatrist's shelf. Antidepressants are a debunked fad drug from the 1990s. People like you think you're doing something morally positive in normalizing them, but you're not. What you're normalizing is junk science.
À-bas-le-ciel.
What is so bad about my content that I should be thrown off the platform, but everyone else gets a pass?